Hey guys, how are you all doing? So today I am going live with Dr. Karishma Vijan. Just to introduce her, she's a dental surgeon and a smile expert. Also the founder of Quintessence Smiles, India's first preventive curative dental clinic, and she's a special consultant at Hinduja Hospital. She's also the founder of the Unicorn Express Foundation, currently working to provide grains to underprivileged women and their families in Mumbai and across India. So I'm just waiting for her to join in. I hope you guys enjoy this. Good to see you guys too. Please keep your questions ready in case you want to ask her anything about dental oral hygiene and about the times of COVID right now. I'm just waiting for Dr. Karishma Vijan to join and then we can start. Hi,
Hi,
how are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
I'm good.
So nice to see you.
So nice to see you too. So let me please mention this that Dr. Karishma Vijan has been conferred upon and listed as 100 most impactful global healthcare leaders award by the World Health and Wellness Congress by ET Now 2019.
Thank you so much. Wow, I'm humbled and a little blushing a bit.
Okay, so tell me, how is the oral health linked to COVID-19?
Yeah, I mean, that's. I think we've started at the right, edge. That oral health actually, it's been recently stated that oral health and COVID-19 is very closely related. Especially if you have gums that are bleeding and if you have gums that are unhealthy, what happens is they act like little pockets for the viruses and bacteria to stay in, and it's very easy for them to travel from mouth to the lungs, obviously. So yes, it's
So
very
it's very
important.
important to keep it clean.
Yes, it's very important to keep it clean and healthy. And with the direct link that's established, I think it's brought a little more of awareness when it comes to oral health and COVID-19. So definitely that's something that I think we should like think more about.
So, what are your dental care tips for kids and moms?
Well, during these times, I think we all are literally at home. Moms and kids are at home a lot together. So there's a lot of home care tips that you could follow, especially when it comes to diet. Shweta, you know that we all love to sort of eat sugars through the day, keep munching. So maybe we can replace that with healthier foods like, hummus and celery sticks, or sort of make these healthy pesto dips. Just simpler, changes, but something that can alter the diet and reduce the exposure of sugar. So definitely that's the number one thing that I would advise both to kids and moms. Secondly, they can both make brushing like a cool thing to do together, like an activity which kind of motivates the kids to do that. When they see their moms doing it, they want to ape that. So, and definitely like flossing twice a day, brushing twice a day, flossing at least once before you sleep. I think that's like the most basic and crucial habit to follow. So
So,
these little
brushing
tips
and
that could
flossing.
help. Yeah, and definitely the diet, like reducing the exposure to sugar to once a day. I can't say zero because that's literally not possible for
Not possible. Yeah.
anyone, especially with the kids. But like having less amount of sugar in less time, number of times, the frequency of the sugar should be reduced. Yeah.
So, how can one improve their immunity and health in COVID times?
Um, Immunity has been talked about so much during these COVID-19 times. Before that, it was really not spoken about as much, but now everyone wants that, right? But like immunity is built, like we've all heard that it happens over a period of time, and that happens when with time we are sort of having our vitamins on a daily basis, simple things like exercise on a daily basis. Our diet is extremely important when it comes to maintaining our immunity. We all know this, but we don't know the little nuances of that, I feel. And now with COVID, the exposure is so much. I'm sure you agree, right, Shweta? I mean, you must have also done some changes in your diet or your lifestyle. You are so
Yes, for
conscious
sure.
yourself, I
Yeah.
know, and I love
I
that
think
about you.
turmeric haldi has become a very important ingredient of our lives, and we've started having a lot of kada. Apart from that, it's the same eating healthy, green vegetables and proteins. And
Yeah,
exercise is, of course, very, very important.
very true. I think what exactly haldi has curcumin, which is like an anti-cancer, an antioxidant. A lot of tablets are available for that as well, but again, I would say nothing like organic haldi, and trying to sort of take measures to have more organic, natural, ways of having, healthy vitamins. But of course, that's not an option for everyone because that takes longer. So, which is why vitamin external supplements is important, and kind of built it from there. So I think these measures, simpler things, having these like haldi and ginger, they have these anti-inflammatory properties which are great, which kind of reduces inflammation. And COVID is known to increase inflammation. That's how it acts. So I think these small little tips can definitely help building immunity in the long run. Yeah.
What do you think about the condition and of the healthcare systems in India at the moment?
I think we all know the answer to this. It's been like such an eye opener. It's like you open a wound and you see, okay, that's the condition. We know there is a shortage of hospitals. There's shortage of food. There's shortage of oxygen. I think last few months we all have seen this to be like right in our faces, right? I mean, I'm sure you've heard that a lot as well. Uh, there's so much to be done in healthcare, and I think we haven't, as as a government, not just the government, but all of us together collectively have not been able to focus that much on health as much as we should have. And clearly that needs to change. We need to think about people who do not have basic amenities as well. I mean, we at least have measures to be able, chance to build our immunity. Some people don't have that as well. And that should be the focus now, I feel.
True. And why social impact in healthcare is important after COVID-19?
Like I said, we all have come across that there is shortage of, basic amenities amongst people who are needful, and that shouldn't be the case. And which is why I think collectively health and social space is something that we all really need to focus on. And it's important that, it's not about the amount of difference that we make or amount of maybe money or anything that we give, but at least we are doing a little bit from our end, whatever possible. I think that matters. And even if it's for your own maid, for that matter, if you're able to help her, that's more than enough. And that's really, I would say, a good, karma, if I have to say. But we all collectively have to sort of think about others. I feel that's really important, because if nothing else, I think COVID has taught us that every person is linked to the other, whether one is in China and the other is in India. How closely, isn't it? Don't you think it's so, it's such an eye opener and sort of a lesson for all of us, that how, closely we all, well-being of one is linked to the other.
True. So tell me about your foundation. How was it formed?
So my foundation is the Unicorn Express Foundation, and unicorn just signifies health and purity, and they're very cool and colorful. So we wanted to kind of have that as in the name. It was formed because one of my relatives passed away of oral cancer. I happened to see that very closely. He was staying with us, and like it was one after the other. I just saw the whole progression over a period of 2 years, and that was very eye-opening for me. I realized that how important it is to prevent a disease, rather than you focusing and spending your resources on treatment, which you don't have a choice to do. But if you focus that on prevention, you can really, prevent yourself from going through that ordeal. And that kind of really pushed me in this direction. I also wanted to do something for women, and because I feel like women keep themselves last, though not anymore, but there is still that trend, at a lot of places where like our health is always secondary. We always care about our families. I'm sure you relate to that as a mom as well. But
Yeah.
it's really important to kind of focus on, the women help, because that's when the whole family is kind of in the right rightly kept, if I may say. So that's the agenda. I mean, I just saw that preventive healthcare was something that needed to be focused on, and that's how.
So when was this formed?
It's been 3 years now that
Okay.
our organization has been running, and we are so blessed to have really, we have like people of all age groups, educated from other countries, who are a part of it, who are volunteering online, and experts from, like, we have someone from big university, we have someone from Doha, India, Mumbai, and all these young energies coming together. And age is again not a bar, it's the mindset. They are so kind of enthusiastic, and that's what makes this like that's how we are able to make any bit of a difference. I feel it's really a collective energy in this organization.
So what exactly do you do in this foundation?
So before pre-COVID, Shweta, we did a lot of breast cancer screening camps with Tata Hospital. We work with women NGOs specifically, who are supporting women who are underprivileged, and we sort of gave them we did a lot of blood tests for them to kind of pre-check if there is any cancer, mammographies, pap smears. And during COVID, that was not possible. And what we've tried and done is kind of target whatever best we can do at the moment. And so during COVID, we distributed sanitary pads to BMC health workers. We did a pad distribution of 600 pads for these women who don't have, who are healthcare workers, but
Basic.
they're not, yeah, they can't afford that. And imagine being in the PPE kits and not having the right sort of resources during the period. So we are doing that. We are distributing food grains. We've done over 35,000 plus meals to women and their families who are needful. So that's the drive that's going on. And like I said, immunity builds through food, and that's the most basic something that we wanted to do.
So how can people contribute towards helping women and their families with the the Unicorn Express Foundation?
So they can always, contribute through volunteering, or if they want to do a monetary sort of, contribution as well. It's not very expensive per meal, per family for a month. The cost is around 583 rupees to feed a family of 4 for a month. So we have our Give India link as well. We are supported by Give India. So if you would like, you could share
So
that.
anyone just Googles that and then goes onto the link and pays.
Yeah, we can have a swipe up link. It's there on my page as well. It's there on the Tux Foundation page. And
Okay.
if you would like to share it on your page, you could do that as well. If people are interested, they can simply donate, and or they can give us the food grains anywhere, anyhow. Any help of any kind is really welcome. But
And you have volunteers who go around distributing the food.
yes, we are tied up with NGOs. For example, we did a drive with this NGO in Andheri West, which has a huge tie-up with women, 200 women in that area. And we kind of had a food grain supplied to them, and the whole drive was carried out. So we have a network of NGOs, a sort of a broad network of NGOs wherein we supply to them, and then the NGO kind of distributes it. And we try and streamline it, because during COVID it's also very important to not just it has to be conducted well, Shweta. Otherwise, the whole risk of spreading COVID while the drive is also very high.
Yeah.
So we are kind of streamlining that in a way that.
So where exactly do you go to distribute all the food grains?
So currently, we are, like I said, going NGO wise. For example, we have a lot of NGOs coming, other women organizations, such as women who are old, or old age homes where there are women, or distraught women. We have these NGOs that have adopted women, and our organization is supplying food grains to them. So we simply have our transportation, and one of our volunteers going and dropping the food grains, and everything is really digital right now. So we have an appeal letter, we have all the pictures, everything is very streamlined. Everything is sort of on the Excel, including the names of people whom we have distributed it to. So it becomes very easy. I think digital media has really helped us, I feel, during COVID.
So that the same family doesn't get a repeat immediately, like within a month.
Yes. We have everything noted, their Aadhaar, we have their PAN card details. So family is not repeated again, or if someone is asking for a meal again, that's also something that can be checked. So we are taking those little measures, because trying and helping, the need is expansive, and we are trying and doing whatever best we can, because it starts from food at the end of the day. I mean, if that's not in place.
So who's funding the whole thing?
So we are blessed to have donors. We have like donors who've been giving monthly, who are really it's almost like we've not asked for it. People are really willing to help. So the funds so far has not been an issue, but more the better, right? We can reach out to more people. We can supply them monthly. So a lot of donors love to give monthly sort of amount to feed these number of people, or feed say 1,000 meals a month, and they get like a letter from us, a thank you appreciation certificate from us, from the Unicorn Express Foundation. So everything is really streamlined, Shweta. So I think even while not getting out too much, it's possible to do uh, a lot, I feel. And that's where our strength lies, actually, I would say. Because it's not really, it's about the intent. And I think once the intent is there, like, things really happen. I've seen that, truly.
That's nice. Very interesting to know all about the foundation. I would want to know if you would like to give a message for women in today's times.
I think today's times women have come a long way, and we have a long way to go. But all I want to say is that every woman who stands up for herself really stands up for all the other women. And I think I really strongly believe that I have been inspired by so many women who are such amazing boss babes, if I may say, who are not just taking care of others but themselves, and not themselves just themselves but everyone around them. And I think if you're doing something for yourself, you're really doing it for every other woman. And I think it's important to kind of keep self-care for a woman is very important. I feel we are very giving, but I think in these times it's like the Mother Earth, Mother Nature says that, hey, I need rest too, and I'll go back in your houses, and it's time for me to kind of clean up everything. I think it's important that we as women do that. We kind of take rest for ourselves, take time for ourselves, and yes, by doing that, we are really doing it for every other woman. I think that's all I'd like to say.
Great. This was great. I think if we have any questions from viewers, we can answer those now. Though I can't see any.
I think any questions, they can always DM us. We will try and get back. And
Yeah, there was somebody asking about, I think, stem cell treatment.
okay,
But
stem
anyway, I'm
cell.
sure if anyone has any issues, they can surely message you directly.
Someone has asked how to maintain oral health for babies under 3. So that's an interesting question. See, the moment the first tooth comes in the oral cavity, it's very important to clean it, start taking care. That's when you have to kind of start taking care of, the oral hygiene, because first tooth comes around at the age of 6 months, and start cleaning it with a clean cloth. And slowly you can use a small like a toothpaste of a pea size, which is really small, a tiny pea size, and start brushing the child's teeth. But use a toothpaste in the age group of 0 to 2 and 3 to 6. That's how the toothpastes are available, and the fluoride content differs in each. So try and using a paste which is to your age group. That's it.
Do we have any other interesting questions?
Not that I can see, but yeah, any questions, we can always answer them through our DM.
Which is the vaccine good for us
Wow.
and for breastfeeding mothers?
Wow, that's that's something that's so it's not been said. There is no particular study as such that says that breastfeeding is something that can or cannot have an effect on the vaccine. See, the idea is that these vaccines are still in trials, so hence it's very, very important to kind of consult your doctor that which month of breastfeeding it is. That's important. And if you have any other ailments, if you are suffering from, say, a hormonal issue, or if you have any other medical condition, these are the factors that collectively will help you decide whether you are a candidate for the vaccine or not. So otherwise, I mean, even pregnant ladies have given birth normally. I know some, we were closely working with a lot of patients also in terms of digitally more so with teleconsultation with COVID. So there were a lot of patients who were pregnant and they had COVID, but they were lucky enough to have, normal births. But it's really important that you consult your doctor and, not take this decision by yourself.
So someone wants to know Covaxin versus Covishield.
Oh
And
my
what is the
God.
success rate of stem cell treatment?
So I'll answer the first one, Covaxin versus Covishield. See, there are percentages available online, but Covaxin, there are certain trials that have not been done. Now, we as collectively as human population today, we don't have a choice because we can't speed in time, right? 5 to 10 years is a minimum trial period of any vaccination, but we don't have that. So I think I personally, if you have to ask my personal opinion, I feel that Covaxin is the trials have not been done for it. So I'm not, I've taken a Covishield, but on the other hand, my brother has taken a Covaxin. So it's really what I would say is go for the vaccination which is available at the moment. But if you have any medical ailments, definitely consult your doctor because both vaccinations have certain side effects in certain ailments such as diabetes, heart
Also,
disease.
Covaxin, once you take Covaxin, 12 countries are not allowing you to travel there, apparently, right? Covishield has a much better uh, opportunity to travel.
That's correct, actually. Yes, because the thing with Covaxin is that few trials have been skipped, but it seems that it has lesser side effects. But again, like we said, it's like I personally would say a Covishield, but again, go for what is available at the moment because being vaccinated is important.
Then
Vaccine
somebody's
definitely.
asked, sorry, you were saying.
I was just saying, vaccine reduces the intensity of the disease.
Yeah. So someone is asking if his dad can take it because he has cholesterol and high blood pressure.
So high blood pressure is not as such a risk, but again, it depends on the amount of like the medicines that he's taking. So I would suggest that if he has anything such as heart disease, diabetes, asthma, that goes into a direct high risk. But again, that's not a complete contraindication to the vaccine. But if the blood pressure is beyond a certain range, then it's important that you consult your doctor. I would say definitely be in touch with one doctor who you can sort of consult on a regular basis online.
Okay. Great. I don't think there are any other important questions. If there's anything on your page, let me know.
So, yeah, I think that's about it. Diabetic patients, they have asked. Like I said, diabetes is very, diabetes, it's very easy to understand. Diabetes is sugar. And where there is sugar, you see the ants coming, right? That's
Yeah.
how it works in the body as well. There's more bacteria. It's easier for the bacteria to thrive and the virus to thrive, in and around diabetes. And it's not the virus that thrives on the sugar, but like bacterial infection is there's high risk of bacterial infection happening in a COVID patient with diabetes. So that becomes a risk factor. Same way obesity, when the weight is more, there's more cholesterol, that's also a risk factor. So definitely be in touch with your doctor. Your doctor might put you on stronger antibiotics while you've got COVID, or could suggest that any measures that you need to take while you're vaccinated as well.
Someone wants to know if we miss the second dose in the allotted time, is it a risk?
The current study says that 84, it suggests that a period of 84 days is something that needs to be there between the first and the last dose, right? There's no risk as such. There's no risk absolutely. And as more studies come in, we get to know more about it. I think like I said, 84 days is not a small period of time. So you can catch it as a range. You can take it as a rough range, for the vaccination to be taken. There are no risk and side effects if you miss your second dose, but try and get it on the right time. That's it.
And can a diabetic patient get vaccinated?
Yes, I just said that yes, they can. But like I said, it's very important that you see the amount of diabetes. There are extra measures that they'll have to take when it comes to, their diabetes, their sugar levels as well. So consult your doctor for that. Don't just, take self-medication. So please be in touch with your doctor is what I would say.
Okay, great. Anything else? Do you have anything on your page?
They want to know if you're getting vaccinated.
Yes, of course. I think by this month or the next month for sure.
Yeah.
And someone wants to know about stem cell and wellness products based on it.
See, stem cells are regenerative cells, right? Stem cells have the capacity to grow into anything for that matter. Anything, when I say be a liver or a kidney. So it really depends, what context are you asking me? But there's more research to happen in this arena, and it's definitely something that's the future. So in terms of stem cells, that's usually something that's also focused a lot when it comes to cancer, because we are kind of trying to regenerate, we are trying to grow the organs. So that definitely has a lot of scope in the near future. And I don't know what context you're asking in, but yes, that is something that's very promising.
What kind of side effects need immediate attention?
So after vaccination, certain side effects are absolutely normal, like you have headache or you have induration, redness in your arm. But anything beyond, such as if you have vision issues or if you are having sort of difficulty in walking straight or breathing issues, then that's something that you could address to your doctor. And certain side effects are absolutely normal. You might have fever, and hence you must take an anti-inflammatory. That's mandatory. We all know that it's mandatory to take an anti-inflammatory right after you've taken your vaccination. Good amount of sleep is very, very essential. I cannot stress the importance of it. Whether you feel that or not, you must sleep, because your body is kind of in that state where it's sort of building its immune system, working towards it, and resting after you've taken the vaccination is important. But anything other than the normal symptoms, like I said, the headache or maybe even the loss of taste and smell is something that could happen.
What
I
do
would
you
say
think
be
is
in
the
touch with
cause?
your doctor.
Okay, what do you think is the cause of if a person just loses smell and no other symptoms whatsoever? And the smell loss has been the same since a month and no other symptoms whatsoever.
Please get yourself tested for COVID, because that's a very, COVID has a tendency to represent itself in different ways in different people. Plus, we have now so many strains. There is a UK strain, there is an Indian strain, which is more sort of virulent, in nature. It has like immediate effects. And it's important that you definitely get yourself checked for the COVID-19 test. Get in touch with your doctor. And there's also something called a silent pneumonia. So I've come across patients who had no symptoms whatsoever, but suddenly their oxygen levels dropped, and that's also possible. So it's really important that you sort of get your chest CTs done in that case. and get in touch with your doctor for it.
So one person is continuously asking if a 5-year-old baby can vaccinate.
No. I don't think vaccination is open for below 18 or
Yeah.
even 18 to 30, 44 for that matter. And I think babies are, at least in the first wave, babies were kind of immune. Now the virus is trying to sort of go around its way to babies as well. But try and keep them away, keep them in the house. You have to keep them isolated. It's very, very important. And no vaccination for babies, no.
Why is the vaccination not effective for a few people? Because I have seen some cases of death after taking the vaccine. Is there a risk in getting vaccinated?
So again, like an interesting question, but I'll try and explain this to you. What happens is at the vaccination center, you know, you have to be careful while you're going to get the vaccine, and after you've got the vaccine, it at least takes about a month, month and a half for the antibodies to form. So we are not superhumans after we take vaccine. Please, like, don't think that you're immune immediately, because I think that's what's happened. And over a period of time, it's kind of, people take vaccine, then after 7 days they are like superhumans, and as if like nothing would happen to them. But that's not what's going to happen. So it's very important that you be careful and wait till the antibodies are formed at the right time. And which is why that could be one of the major factors, that the person has caught COVID, and if the antibodies are not formed and you're vaccinated, you will still get COVID. So just be very careful about that. Don't wait till your antibodies are like, even after your antibodies are formed, just by the way, it might not be active for one of the strains, one of the new strains. So please, anyways, double mask and sanitize. There's no substitute for that.
So the person who was asking about the loss of smell was saying that the person is diabetic too. Is that a worry? So I would suggest he should get tested and see
Yeah.
his doctor, right?
Yes,
Will kids
100%.
be affected by COVID-3 wave?
That's tough to say. The virus constantly tries to beat humans, and we humans are trying to do the same. So we cannot really predict that. But understand that a virus has a tendency to mutate. So it will change its forms, shape, structure to just kind of try and it's a constant hide and seek game. So it could be affecting children, yes, and which is why it's important that you kind of start building their immunity, and make sure they're eating healthy and kind of keep them isolated. Yeah.
Okay, there's another very dear friend of mine whose husband post-COVID is extremely exhausted and has a lot of lung pain.
Okay.
So
So
what do you
exhaustion
suggest?
is very normal. My own mom had COVID, and I think it was the worst time, because when you see your parent going through that, I think
Yeah.
it's the worst. But it's absolutely normal for exhaustion to be there. Post COVID, it's the antibodies, like I said, are not formed immediately. Please make sure he's resting well, and he's eating healthy. And what does his HRCT scan say? It's important to measure the before and after. Like if the CT scan was done at the beginning, and what is the CT scan at the end? It's important to see that the disease is reducing from the lungs as well. So make sure that's happening. Be in constant touch with your doctor.
Any idea what is Roche cocktail medication?
Sorry, I don't know much.
Roche, Roche, cocktail medication.
I wouldn't know that. But don't take
Okay.
any medication until and unless you consult your doctor. Please.
Does the vaccine effect reduce if one takes crocin or fever reducing medication right before taking the vaccine?
Not at all. Not at all. But you don't need to do that. You can simply take it post the vaccination,
Post,
and
yeah.
no, there are no studies that say that at all.
Is it true that people are dying after getting vaccinated? I think that's just a
Again,
random case, right? It's just unfortunate
see,
that it's happening.
see, we need to, like I said, there are factors related to it that people think that they are vaccinated and it's done. It's not like that. Wait for the antibodies to form. There is no substitute to a mask, and because there are different strains out there, we don't know what strain has affected you. So please be careful when it comes to that. Generally, vaccine is shown to reduce the intensity of COVID-19 infection. That's 100% true. I know people who have got vaccine and have got the disease, but it's much milder.
Do newborn babies get affected by COVID?
Not as of now. I think we might have seen very few or very rare cases, but yes, we do not know what lies ahead. So be have your precautions in place.
How does one cure cavities?
To cure, see a cavity. What's a cavity? Cavity is a hole, right? But when we say cavity, it's actually a decayed tooth. So the tooth in that part is now nothing but like say a decayed portion, and that needs to be removed, replaced, and sealed back. So just get your cavity filled, the tooth cavity filled. That's the solution to it.
And diabetic levels need to be under normal to get vaccinated?
Not necessary. I would say consult your doctor, but that's not the criteria. But we will keep you, doctors, what we usually do is we keep you under certain antibiotics so that there's no bacterial overinfection that's happening. Right? That's like I explained. It's important that there's no superimposition of another infection while you have your body's kind of making its immunity and immunity bodies. Yeah.
Which age bracket is going to get affected by the third wave?
Uh, well, I don't think the biggest, astrologers could predict this. As scientists, we can, as doctors, we can't say. But like I said, the virus can mutate in one or more directions. This second wave, it did affect a lot of young people, which is why, the trajectory of it affecting the children, but we don't know. And hence, be prepared for anything that comes your way.
I have seen some people getting infected in the intestines. Why is this happening?
Intestine with COVID-19.
Yeah.
See, what happens is COVID increases the infection in your body, inflammation in your body in general. So it's not something that there's no study that specifically says that it's the intestine that it's affecting. It's mainly the lungs, but as and when the infection increases, it kind of gets your body into something called a septic shock, where all your body functions start to decline. That's the progression of the disease. Because once your lungs are affected, how are you going to get pure blood in all your organs? It's a simple logic. So I think it's very important to kind of make sure that you are under, you're focusing on your immunity and you're in touch with your doctor constantly.
So there's somebody called AJ Skantapriyan who's written, my father-in-law was a heart patient. We asked his doctor before getting vaccinated and checked with his meds, but we lost him within a week after he got vaccinated. I'm so sorry to hear this.
Very sorry to hear that.
My uncle
Like
were
I said,
highly... Yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
no, I mean, like I said, that heart disease, diabetes, obesity is a risk factor, and it's you can't. When we say a risk factor, means it increases the chances of you getting a severe disease. So it's not something that's predictable.
But a lot of people are blaming it on the vaccine, saying that once we got vaccinated and then there was a death.
It's really not. I think, like I said, it's important to understand that um, it, you can't blame one or more things. It's absolutely direct that um, COVID-19 can happen to anyone, and with or without vaccination, the vaccination tends to reduce the intensity of the disease. So perhaps it might have tried to reduce, he might have got COVID and it tried to reduce the intensity, but nothing much could be done about it. These are risk factors, it's not really in anyone's hand, but you can do what's best in your hand, So try and focus on what can be done at the moment.
My uncle got highly positive in rapid test, though there were no symptoms seen in him. So obviously he was asymptomatic.
Yeah. That's very common. See, 80%, we have to understand 80% of COVID-19 cases are asymptomatic. So if you see the symptoms, you're under the 20% of cases, So which is why the whole point of wearing a mask, because anyone around you who's asymptomatic could just be a carrier. They don't know that they have COVID, and it's not their fault as well, right? But which is why it's important to kind of stay masked.
Does anyone have to worry about being COVID positive if he has no symptoms? Because it's dreadful to hear the news that the guys having tested positive without symptoms directly becoming critical.
I just said that right now, that this is how this wave has come up. Like initially there are no symptoms and suddenly the oxygen drops, but usually the body gives a sign. There is a sign or two. So constantly work on building your immunity, I would say. And if at any point you feel that you have certain breathlessness or any such symptoms, just go to your doctor. And a simple measure I would suggest is, you have an oximeter at home. If you are normal, just simply test yourself with the oximeter every alternate day, or maybe once a day daily. It doesn't take too much of your time, but there's no harm in sort of checking your oxygen levels daily. Yeah.
Hypothyroidism and diabetes in 45 plus person advisable. I think they're asking about the vaccine.
Hypothyroidism is linked to obesity. Obesity is excessive weight, and that's directly linked as a high risk factor for COVID-19 cases. And in general, of course, like I said, diabetes is related to COVID-19. A person like that getting vaccinated could benefit because it would reduce the intensity, but I don't know their statistics, so please consult your doctor. But this is what I would suggest, that if a person like that gets COVID, it could be, high intensity. So if the doctor gives you a go ahead for the vaccine, take it.
What should we follow after recovering from COVID?
After recovery from COVID, follow the same diet like you've been doing while you had COVID. Immunity is not a 7-day or a 10-day job. It's a daily, consistent effort towards yourself. And after COVID, your body is recovering. We have seen that it takes at least a month or so for your body to completely recover. You feel a lot of muscle ache, you may feel exhaustion, fatigue, headaches. That's very normal. So continue a very good diet and no strong exercises. Yeah.
Sputnik versus Covishield, which is better?
I think according to statistics, Sputnik is supposed to be one of the best, but I think Covishield has substantially given good results overall as well. And at this point, I would just say take what you're getting, because like I said, the vaccine reduces the effects of COVID-19 disease, and that should be the focus.
Is it true that steroids in medication is causing black fungus in diabetic people?
Wow, that's a super interesting question, but it's also very complex to answer. Steroid helps in reducing inflammation, but the doctors are very, very, being very careful in terms of how much steroid is given. So I wouldn't say there's a direct link like that, but when steroid reduces inflammation, it can also it causes immunosuppression to a level, but that is important for you to survive the COVID-19. So it's kind of a 50-50 situation, but in general, like if a steroid is required, there's something called as a cytokine storm that happens due to COVID-19 disease, and that's when the doctors usually recommend a steroid. So in that case, it would be important for you to get a steroid. So don't think that it's something that has got to do with the steroids, because the right treatment is being given to you, and there are measures to take that to avoid the black fungus, and I think you should focus on that.
Suggest some food to be taken after one gets vaccinated.
Uh, like I said, definitely have a lot of green vegetables. It's very, like, there are studies that say that a good amount of antioxidants and good amount of anti-inflammatory ingredients prevent, help your body sort of recuperate better. And after vaccination as well, like you don't have to have a particular diet pre or post vaccination. Your diet should be good anyways. So focus on that really, and have a lot of. You can take a lot of steam inhalations. I think that's something you can add after your vaccination. Do take a good amount of rest. Have your vitamins. Have your green vegetables. Have your food on time. These are simple but important things to, sort of go through this process.
Can you explain black fungus? What is it?
So a black fungus is also called
And
a
I'll just tell you
sleeping.
some more questions on the fungus. White
I might
fungus
not have
versus,
that much time. We
okay,
can
just two
probably
more
take
questions.
two more.
White fungus versus black fungus, which is deadly and prevalent? Yeah, that's about it. Just talk about this. I think this is the last one we can do.
So I think, see, when it comes to fungus, it's also called as mucormycosis. It's important to understand that when the person's immunity is affected, that's when the fungus kind of starts growing. Just equate it to somewhere in your house when it's not clean, when it's not kept, when it's not clean or it's untidy, there's no one to fight for it. That's when the fungus grows. That's something similar that can happen in the body. And after COVID-19, usually the immunity is at lower. Is at its lowest because your body has really fought the disease, and that's where the fungus could happen. Now, it's important to note the signs and symptoms. There could be sinus issues. There could be a lot of headaches. There could be bleeding. There are also some oral manifestations, like there are some swellings in the mouth. There are ulcers in the mouth. So these could be some of the symptoms of the black or the white fungus, and it spreads very fast, and hence it's important that the right medication, the antifungals, are given at the right time. So if you feel that that's something that, or someone around you could have that, consult your ENT at the earliest.
Okay, great. I think we should be done now. Otherwise, this is going to just keep continuing. In case anyone has any other questions, please message Dr. Karishma, and I'm sure she'll be more than happy to reply and
Sorry.
hear out your queries. Thanks a lot, Karishma. This was great. I hope you enjoyed it too.
I did. Thank you so much, Veta.
Take care, stay safe, and I hope to see you soon.
You too. Take care. Stay safe.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.